Well, hello and welcome in. It is the week 4 edition of Gem State Game Day here on IdahoSports.com. We do this live every Tuesday night, usually 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. You'll find out tonight. Tonight's show's a little bit on the fly, so we decided to go at 8:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Pacific Time, but it's still going to be an hour of the best 11-man football analysis you'll find anywhere. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Going to have a lot of fun tonight. My name is Brandon Bainey, but let's bring on our panel of experts joining us from the Magic Valley once again, a rising star in the IdahoSports.com ranks. It's Wyatt Helm. What's going on, Wyatt?
Hey, man, happy to be on. Excited to talk some football.
Yes, great to have you on. And also joining us tonight from North Idaho, you know him as one of the co-hosts of the North Idaho Prepcast. It is Ryan Skaggs. What's up, Skaggs?
What's going on? I was about to be like Judge Smales on a Caddyshack where he's like, well, we're waiting.
Obviously having some technical problems on my end, but we are off and running, and we will land this plane in fine form tonight. This is the show where we dissect the upcoming weekend of high school football action in Idaho, specifically the 11-man game. If you're looking for 8-man content, that's tomorrow night. The Idaho 8-man Prepcast, it'll be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Pacific on all of these exact same destinations. So tonight, we're going to spend about 15 minutes for each classification, 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, and talk about the big games that are coming up this weekend. We, of course, want to hear from you, the fans, tonight. If you're tuning in live on any of these great platforms and you've got a question, a comment, a team you want to shout out, throw it in the chat. We'll throw it up on the screen. And, of course, if you are hanging out with us live tonight, we always ask that you like, share, and follow, please. This will help everybody who isn't able to be here live tonight find Gem State Game Day a little easier on replay tomorrow, Thursday, or maybe even Friday as they're driving to their game of choice. And with that, let's get to it. I always like to share my screen so all of the fans at home can see just how easy it is to navigate IdahoSports.com. This is our homepage, guys. This is what it looks like when you go to IdahoSports.com. And there's a number of different things right at the top on Friday night that are going to be your best friends. For example, game streams. Those are all of the games that we'll be broadcasting this weekend. That's a great place to go. Friday Night Flash. That is our live in real-time updating scoreboard. We update scores as we get them from around the state in real time on Friday night. That's always one of the most popular things we've got as well. We've also got our schedules, scores, standings, and rosters page where you can find information for any team, any sport, soccer, volleyball, football. When we get into the other winter sports and spring sports, baseball, softball, basketball, all of that great stuff is right there. And that's where I'm actually going to start, is by clicking on the schedules, scores, standings, and rosters page. And that's going to take us to a list of all of the high schools in Idaho. From there, I'm going to go to football, up top, scoreboard, fall sports, football. And let's take a look. Let's take a peek ahead and see if there's any Thursday night games that we've got going on this week in the great state of Idaho. There are two, one 8-man game, one 6A SIC matchup, Boise taking on Timberline at Donna Larson Park. So there's always a Thursday night game in the Boise Valley, it seems like, and that should be a pretty good one. Timberline 2-0, Boise 1-1. Let's go back to the main page, though, and let's go to the Friday Night Flash. This is our live in real-time interactive scoreboard. When you click on this Friday night, it will have the current week of games. And here we go, guys. We will start our conversation tonight with 6A football in the great state of Idaho. I will zoom in on this a little bit so it's a little bit bigger for everybody to see. And you can make your screen full size if you're watching this on any of the IdahoSports.com destinations, YouTube, Facebook, X, or Instagram. And follow along. Here are the 6A games in week number 4. We've got a couple of 6A, 5A matchups like Bishop Kelly and Rigby, like Hillcrest and Thunder Ridge, like Madison and Skyline. But we've also got some really intriguing 6A only matchups, including in the SIC. These are not official division games yet. You've got Capital and Bora, Centennial and Eagle. You've got Middleton and Cuna, Rocky Mountain, Mountain View, Meridian and Owyhee. Those are all cross-divisional matchups. In fact, again, if you go to IdahoSports.com and you click on standings, conference standings, football. This will give you an idea of what the divisions are, what the standings look like in Idaho currently. We see nobody's actually played any conference games yet, but a lot of teams are off to undefeated starts. And again, that 6A Southern Idaho Conference, the Foothills Division, it's Rocky Mountain, Timberline, Capital, Middleton, Centennial, and Meridian. The River Division is Eagle, Owyhee, Boise, Bora, Kuna, and Mountain View. 6 teams in each division. This was arbitrarily drawn up like 4 or 5 years ago, and they pretty much kept the divisions the same. Rigby's 3-0. Thunder Ridge surprisingly 2-0 over in East Idaho. And of course, up north, Post Falls currently 1-1. Everybody else has taken at least 2 losses in the ledger. So going back to our 6A conversation, and Ryan, I know you're going to have to dip out at some point tonight. We hope you can come back. You got dad duties you got to attend to. You just leave when you have to, and we'll adjust on the fly. So I'll defer to you first for these until you have to leave. What is the 6A game that you're most excited about this Friday night?
I think the most intriguing matchup, in my opinion, because it does have some future playoff implications, in my opinion, when you start looking at seeding on the back end, not necessarily in the front runners, but look at that Kuna Middleton game. I think it's an intriguing matchup. Both teams 1-1 going into the game. Looking for a little bit of momentum. Middleton stubbed their toe earlier in the year against Madison. And, how are they recovering from that game and going into this league season? There's some aspirations around that program, especially with the notoriety of a few of the recruits on the team. So what can they just take care of business against the Cavemen? I think that's going to be an interesting game because Kuna we've seen kind of be the thorn in the side on a few teams the last couple of years. And, kind of walking into games, sometimes you end up getting snake bit against them. So how can Middleton respond, be focused, and walk into that game and ultimately see if they come up with a victory?
Middleton suffered that heartbreaking 9-6 loss to Madison last Friday night on IdahoSports.com. It was a field goal palooza. And so Middleton, I'm sure, is very motivated to take on Kuna. These are the 2 teams that really identify as, we're in the 6A Southern Idaho Conference, but we are not Boise Metro, okay? We're small town Idaho. We're Kuna. We're Middleton. We're removed from all of that big city noise. And so I know this is a pride game for each of these schools.
Well, they've been playing each other forever too. So, I mean, like they've been the same conference with, it feels like eons. So
yes, they did. They used to be 5A contemporaries. Now they've both moved up to 6A. And again, as we look at the standings, Middleton 1-1 on the season, and Kuna is 1-1 as well. Wyatt, what's the 6A game you've got your eye on this weekend?
Yeah, definitely a bunch of juicy matchups. Maybe I'll save a matchup when we get back into the 5As. But I'll look at the Meridian Owyhee for kind of the same reasons as Ryan. Again, kind of seeding. Meridian last week took a few lumps from Mountain View. And then Owyhee had a pretty big win. Let's see, who is that? That was over Capital. And so, again, they're going to be kind of in that middle kind of tier. I think that whole kind of group of teams fighting for playoff spots, trying to position themselves. Early season wins are going to be really important for those teams and trying to get in there and be successful early in the season and try to get ahead of the standings rather than trying to play catch up.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting one as well. The game I'm kind of honing in on, I'll touch on. Bishop Kelly is hosting Rigby. Bishop Kelly went to Rigby last year. I was broadcasting that game for IdahoSports.com. It was a romp. All right. Rigby took BK out back and smacked him around pretty good. Rigby, it's been interesting. I mean, they had that really crazy win 2 weeks ago at the Rocky Mountain Rumble. They're 3-0. But I think this is a good problem for Rigby to have. And Coach Armando Gonzalez does a really good job coaching his guys, basically saying, hey, we can't just show up and win every week. We have to show up and compete and execute. Because anybody can get us at any time. And so I think that's going to be an interesting game for Rigby. I do like Rigby over BK pretty significantly in that matchup. The game I'm really going to highlight, guys, though, is actually on Saturday. As we go back to our Saturday scoreboard, there's one Saturday game in the state of Idaho. It's in Pocatello. It is Highland hosting Lake City Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning. They did this last year. Highland made the trip up to Coeur d'Alene to play on a Saturday against Lake City. It was a game Highland won by 1 score. And again, I've talked about this game a lot with Lake City, where Lake City went 4-5 last year and was basically the first team out of the playoffs. If Lake City wins that game against Highland, they're 5-4. They've beaten a team that is in the playoffs. Does that change their Max Preps ranking enough? I think it does. And so this is a pivotal game for Lake City, especially because they are now 0-2 and behind it a little bit. Now they've played two really tough teams out of the gate. A Lakeland team that we'll talk about coming up in our 5A discussion, and then an out-of-state opponent last week, Wenatchee from Washington, a game that was supposed to be in Washington, but because of the smoke, it got moved to Coeur d'Alene on a Saturday. Both games, Ryan, because you're our North Idaho guy, both games were winnable for Lake City. It's not like they got boat raced in either game. I mean, they were competitive throughout, right?
Yeah, they got hit by a couple trick plays against Wenatchee too. I mean, they were right in that ball game. So it's not like they were out physical or outplayed by any means, and they played Lakeland tough. They were able to stymie that offense at times, which has been, showing that it has a potential to be pretty high firepower. So Lake City, we talk about that front seven, to start the year off. We knew what they're going to be up front on the offensive line and defensive line. Their linebackers have been playing pretty good. They got to clean some things up on offense. I know Coach Hout's been working on that, getting a little bit more consistency from his quarterbacks and receivers, but that's a game, we saw last year, there was a lot of extracurriculars going on in that game. How short of a memory does Lake City have or Highland have going into this next game? Or does, some of that carry over, a little chippiness that, we see. And sometimes that plays into the underdog's hands if they can get in the favored team's head a little bit going into the game. But it's a long road trip too. I mean, Coeur d'Alene, there is no easy way going all the way down south. So when you're going to Southeast Idaho, it's going to be a haul for them. They got a tall task. Highland's been playing pretty decent. I know they got a loss on their record, but that was a team that's pretty darn good. So, it's going to be an interesting ball game.
Yeah. No easy way to get to Pocatello from Coeur d'Alene. I made that drive 2 weeks ago for the Rocky Mountain Rumble. One way to go, and that's through beautiful Montana, God's country, my home state. So
if you're going through Idaho and you're trying to stay in the gem state, I mean, you're a glutton for punishment. So
yeah, it's a little more tricky, the degree of difficulty. You can't pull it off this time of year, but it's not advised. So
and I am curious with Highland. I mean, they played a bunch of out of state opponents, a couple Nevada schools, and then they played a team. I'm looking at the rankings. They're the third ranked team in the entire state of Utah. And I mean, they kind of housed them. And so you wonder what the energy level is coming out of that game, kind of a game. I mean, that it either, kind of can break a season, or it can just, ramp you up and kind of remotivate you and be like, hey, we got to turn this around. That's kind of the disadvantage to playing some of those out-of-state teams. You really don't know what you're getting sometimes. I think, you schedule a couple teams and it's like, well, guess we'll see what happens when the cleats hit the ground.
Yeah, that Sky Ridge, Utah team that Highland played last week, I think it was 70-6. That was the final score there. Here's Hayden, last week's host in the chat. Hayden Eulencott. Brandon, you are alive. Yes, I was sick last week. Hayden did a really good job filling in for me, Hayden. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's great to be back, certainly, there. Okay, last thing on Lake City. If this is a team that truly says we're turning the corner, this is the year we get back to the playoffs, we take that next step as a program under third-year coach Byron Hout, they have to win this game. This is a game you have to win. You absolutely, it's going to be hard. You're going to go on the road. You get an extra day to travel down there, though. It's a Saturday. You have to win this game. So
win ugly. Yeah, absolutely. Agree 100%.
Yep. And that was last year's game. I think it was 13-7, I think was the final last year. Highland came up to Lake City and won. So, all right, that's what's going on with our 6A landscape. Next week is when we start getting into those actual 6A SIC divisional games, and maybe early dominance, and the pecking order will finally start to flesh itself out. But it's going to be a lot of fun regardless. Okay, when we come back here on Gem State Game Day, we will take a look at the 5A matchup. You've already seen some of the matchups, BK Rigby, Hillcrest Thunder Ridge. We will talk about all of that and more right after this on Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. We do this live every Tuesday night throughout the season, previewing the upcoming slate of games. Week 4 already upon us. I can't believe it. We're almost to the halfway point of the high school football season, which is just insane to think about. Brandon Beatty with Wyatt Helm and Ryan Skaggs. Okay, again, this is the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Let's take a look at the standings. You go to standings and polls, conference standings, and football. And let's bring up the 5A standings. What's going on in the 5A football landscape? Well, you see right there the Great Basin Conference, Minico and Twin Falls, both off to 1-0 starts. Both wins over, I think, the two teams that people think might be at the bottom, Mountain Home and Jerome. So I don't know how much data we really have there yet. Hillcrest and Skyline are both 1-0 in the High Country Conference over in District 6. Skyline beat Blackfoot by 2 scores last week. That was a game we were all kind of had our eye on, and so that was an interesting one for sure. Century, Pocatello, Preston, just a 3-team conference. Nobody's played conference play yet, but the Diamondbacks 3-0 for the first time in a long time. One of the biggest stories of the year right now. Good job by Coach Fleischman and company down there in Pocatello. And then over in District 3, look at that, guys. Bishop Kelly, Columbia, Ridgeview. I think, coming into the season, we thought those would be the teams that were undefeated. Yeah, BK and Columbia and Ridgeview. Yep, we all nailed that. Meanwhile, Valley View's 0-2. Nampa, a team that I was really high on in the preseason, is 0-3. It's getting late for the Bulldogs already. And then up north, a pair of undefeated teams. They checked in at number 4 and 5 in this week's media poll. It just dropped earlier today. Lakeland and Sandpoint, both 3-0, off to a strong start there in northern Idaho. Let's go to IdahoSports.com, again, the homepage, and click on the Friday Night Flash and take a look at what's going on across the state in terms of 5A football Friday night. Here's what we've got, guys. Some of those crossover games we talked about already, BK Rigby, etc. Blackfoot and Pocatello playing in Blackfoot. You've got Burley and Wood River in a 4A, 3A matchup. Canyon Ridge Mountain Home, that is a conference game in the Great Basin Conference. Mountain Home trying to avoid an 0-2 start there. You've got Sandpoint playing Davis Washington, Caldwell and Gooding, Idaho Falls and Century at Ravston Stadium should be a fun one. Jerome and Minico in Great Basin play. A couple of North Idaho versus Washington matchups. Lakeland going to play Spokane West Valley.
Lewiston and West Valley. Don't get confused there. Yeah.
Sorry.
Rams, not the Eagles. Yeah.
and that's a tough opponent for sure.
Yeah.
Lewiston and Clarkston, the Bengals and Bantams renew their rivalry. You've got, we mentioned Madison and Skyline, Nampa and Columbia. A very interesting game in that SIC. Preston's going to play a really good Ogden team from Utah, and then a couple of other District 3 matchups, Ridgeview and Emmett, Valley View and Skyview. So District 3 gets conference play started this week. Ryan, what is the 5A game you're most excited about?
Just because it's on the board, I'm going to go homer here. Lewiston Clarkston. That Zane Hobart in the first, Cross River rivalry game with the Bantams. Clarkson coming in. I believe they lost to Moscow last week, if I'm not mistaken. So the Bears got a big win last week, but Zane's still looking for his first win with that Bengal club, and it's a winnable game for them. But I mean, you start feeling that's the first Clarkston Lewiston game, I believe, at Bengal Field, or the new Bengal Field, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be absolutely packed. That place will be absolutely raucous and rocking. Going to be an awesome atmosphere, and hopefully Zane, and I say this as a Clarkson grad, hopefully Lewiston come away with a victory.
Yeah. Lewiston 0-3, competitive loss to Columbia, competitive loss to Post Falls where they lost by 10, but had several mistakes and turnovers, including one where Post Falls basically scooped it up for a touchdown. And then last week against Coeur d'Alene just ran into a buzzsaw, certainly.
Tale of two halves for that Bengals team in their first couple games too. I mean, they played really good in the second half, but it's a slow start for them, and they got, Coeur d'Alene we could have talked about too, but the change at QB and how that's changed things. I mean, Lewiston didn't have an answer for that situation, but the Bengals, they're going to figure things out. They've got too much talent on that roster to be going over, in my opinion.
Yeah. We'll get to the Coeur d'Alene thing in a second here. I got to get caught up on the comments. Here is Sean Kane from the East Idaho Prepcast. Oh, hi, Ryan.
Hey, Sean.
You guys are like on Seinfeld. You guys are like Jerry and Newman.
Newman.
Hello. Yeah. Hello, Newman. Hello, Sean. Hey, our number one commenter on Gem State Game Day by far is Jeb Harrison, who has forgotten more about football than we collectively will ever know. Jeb says Blackfoot and Skyline last week was tied at the half, but Blackfoot had a bad 6 minutes. Can't do that versus a great team like Skyline. It would be very interesting to see how Blackfoot responds. Blackfoot and Pokey went to OT last year. He's expecting a great game there. And Hayden says the Clarkston-Lewiston game is a must-win for the Bengals. That schedule is rough. Absolutely. You can't, you have to find the small victories. Otherwise you risk, maybe the player starting to tune out, what coaches are saying and things like that. So you got to find those small wins somewhere. Wyatt, we got several games on tap here at 5A. It is the largest classification in Idaho. What is the game you're most excited for?
Yeah, I think there's a couple interesting games. My eyes are kind of drawn to that bottom right side with that Madison skyline. I really appreciate it when good teams schedule other good teams. And I mean, when you get in some of those like 6A, 5As, maybe like a 4A playing a 5A, I mean, it's good football. I mean, I don't even really see this as like a larger school playing a smaller school. I see it as two good football teams. And I just, shout out to those teams and those kind of ADs that set up good, tough matches for those kids. Cause it's pretty easy to just kind of schedule a couple. And so, and I mean, I'm sure the gate at a game like that's going to be great. It's going to be a great gate. Should be a really interesting game at a really cool stadium. Two pretty interesting teams. I mean, with a lot of really skilled kids. I mean, you look at the amount of skill guys that Skyline has with Zane Crockett and, his ability to be dynamic. And then you see Madison with, I mean, they always seem to have just these big kids, just really big kids and always able to run the football. So that's kind of what I'm drawn to. And I'm curious to see how that kind of goes. I think obviously it doesn't have any effect on, seeding necessarily, but maybe outside of that with max prep rankings, because it's not going to hurt either team to really lose that. I think it's going to be a benefit to both, keeping it close both ways, just playing good football and getting better so you can be good at the right time.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun one for sure. Skyline, when I did their season opener at the Rocky Mountain Rumble, they platooned quarterbacks. They had John Giannini III, who was kind of more of your prototypical passing quarterback. And then the other quarterback they had was more of the kind of the scrambler. They did some more designed runs and things like that. And so it does give the Skyline offense a couple of different looks and some diversity. Here's Jeb in the chat. Madison is a different team than years past. Madison usually throws the ball a ton, but Madison's offense goes through their QB, who is capital FAST fast. QB runs for Madison is their ticket. And so can Skyline's defense, which I've been pretty impressed with, they lost a lot to graduation. They brought back a couple guys in the secondary, and that's pretty much it. And so I've been pretty impressed by Skyline's defense early on. And I think the other key, and Jeb, I'm sure will agree with me, Madison's offensive line is no joke. They've got big dudes that are all like 6'2", 280, 6'2", 300. Like, I mean, it's a big offensive line. It was the key to their success last year. A lot of those guys are back. So, yeah, that Madison O-line, definitely something to keep an eye on. Skaggs, you mentioned Coeur d'Alene and the quarterback change they made. The prophet, Sam Buffington, was correct. He was just a couple weeks early. You'll remember the show. I think all of us were here. Wyatt, were you here for that?
Yeah, I was here for that.
Yeah, Sam came in with the hot rumor that Caden Simmons might be playing wide receiver and Tanner Stern might play quarterback. It's something that Simmons said quarterback the team the first couple weeks, and Coeur d'Alene looked good. I mean, Rigby, does what they did to Coeur d'Alene to a lot of teams, and then a very competitive loss to Silverton, Oregon. But they made that switch last week, and so that will be something to monitor going forward. Jeb, funny comment here about those Madison O linemen. They all look 21 to 22 years old. So, yeah, they're grown men for sure. It's fun to watch them for sure. The game I'm going to hone in on, guys. Obviously, I'm interested to see. I think Century wins this game. I think Century moves to 4-0, which is,
pretty remarkable.
Yeah, the last time they were 4-0, I don't know the year, but I mean it was a long time ago. So I expect Century to win there. I expect Blackfoot to win this game. I'm still not sure what Pocatello is. I'm gonna be broadcasting Pocatello's game next week, Thursday night against Sandpoint. I'm very intrigued to see them with my eyes because they lost that game to Skyview early, which was kind of a head scratcher to me. They did get their first win last week, which was good. So this game, I'm more interested to see what Pocatello does than Blackfoot does. I know Blackfoot's good. I know that. I'm not sure where Pocatello is. The game I'm most excited about, though, is down here, Nampa and Columbia. This is a game where I was very high on Nampa preseason. They are 0-3. Now, they've played some tough games. They've played 2 6A schools, and then they lost to Century in that season opener. So I thought in overtime, yes. So this was I thought Nampa probably could be 1-2 coming into this. So I'm not like panicked yet, but Columbia is on the other side. They're 2-0 with a win over Lewiston. So this is a big measuring stick game, especially with the SIC kind of on its head right now. You know, BK, of course, is at the top still, but Ridgeview and Emmett is going to be an important one.
Big game. That's a big game.
Is Ridgeview for real, or is I still think Emmett's really good, you know, despite losing their starting quarterback for the season. I think Emmett's really good. So this to me is, okay, Nampa, this is your chance to show we're ready. This is our chance, or this is Columbia's chance to say, hey, we are for real this year, and you guys better start taking us seriously. So I'm really intrigued to see how this game goes at the Bulldog Bowl. That's what Nampa calls their home stadium. I love it, the Bulldog Bowl. So
it does always have, it kind of has like a, you know, that higher stadium seating and stuff like that. It is interesting. I mean, those Nampa schools, you go to Nampa, Columbia, and Skyview, they're all on the same side of Nampa. Like they're all really, if there's not over traffic, it's 5 minutes between each of the schools. I mean, they're right by each other. They're all kind of on that south end of Nampa. But I mean, so it always is kind of interesting seeing some of those matchups. So, and you know, Columbia is kind of on the outside, and I don't know. I've seen a lot of energy from Columbia. I just on social media, some of my like suggested reels and stuff showing up are these Columbia, you know, highlights and stuff. And I think there's a lot of people really energetic. I think they have a good staff. I think they have kids coming through, getting bought in, and I think it's good. I think it's really good to see teams outside of just, you know, maybe that kind of Meridian area or something. You know, that Treasure Valley seems pretty deep now.
Yeah, and Valley View, a team we thought would be better, 0-3. This is a good chance for them to get off the schneid and start some positive momentum there. But really good slate of games across the 5A landscape this week for sure. We're halfway through it, guys. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's going on in the 4A ranks. Spoiler alert, Sugar Salem's good again. Spoiler alert, Homedale's good again. Who else is good, though? We're still sorting out the rest of the hierarchy, but a lot of 4A teams staking claim to being competitive, feisty teams this year. We'll break down the 4A landscape right after this. Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.
Once again, we have contributed to your ideal college savings program. Love, Grandma and Grandpa.
Ideal. Eventually, they'll appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. I love it.
College costs money.
I love that. College costs money. Yeah, it does. Hey, big thanks to all of you for being with us here on IdahoSports.com. It is Gem State Game Day on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. We are talking the biggest matchups in week 4 of the Idaho high school football season. Brandon Bainey with Wyatt Helm and Ryan Skaggs. Let's go to 4A football. Again, I'm on the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Standings and polls, conference standings, football. Here we go. We're going to go to Class 4A. What's new? Bonners Ferry and Moscow, both 2-1 up north. Timberlake, 0-3. I will be in Timberlake Friday night to broadcast that game with McCall Donnelly that we'll talk about here in a second. Sugar Salem's 3-0. South Fremont's 2-1, guys. They beat Westside, a 3A school last week, but a really good one. So South Fremont 2-1. Nobody's played any conference games yet because this is Idaho's smallest classification in terms of number of teams. Buell's 2-0, Kimberly 2-1, Filer and Gooding each 1-1 over there in District 4. Snake River Valley Conference, guys. Look at this. Fruitland, Coal Valley Christian, Homedale, and Payette are a combined 9-0 to start the season. Weiser, of all teams, is 0-2 and looking up at everybody. And then over in East Idaho, American Falls still leading the way at 2-1. Bear Lake, Marsh Valley, Snake River have all scheduled pretty aggressively early on this season. And so they are a combined 0-7. Again, IdahoSports.com. Let's go to the Friday Night Flash. Let's take a look at what's going on the 12th. Again, this will be updated by the time you get there Friday night. 4A landscape, guys. We've got several crossover games, including American Falls Malad, Buell and Declo, Burley and Wood River, Caldwell and Gooding, Coal Valley Christian and Nampa Christian, Marsh Valley and West Side, Melba and Weiser, North Fremont and Teton, Parma and Filer, that might be West Jefferson and South Fremont. So in terms of 3A only matchups, there aren't that many. There's Homedale and Kimberly, which is in Homedale. I'm sure somebody's going to talk about this game. There is Snake River and Bear Lake, first conference game in District 5 over there for those teams. And there is Timberlake and McCall Donnelly in a non-conference battle of 4A teams. That'll be on IdahoSports.com Friday night. Other intriguing games, you've got Moscow playing Pullman, regional rivalry right there. Those two towns not that far apart. Sugar Salem is going to play Star Valley, Wyoming. The guys last week talked about how good that Star Valley program is over in Wyoming. Star Valley is basically, I think, 3-0 against Idaho this year. And then you got Bonners Ferry playing Northwest Christian from Washington as well. That game's going to be played at West Valley High School in Spokane. The Spokane West Valley, not the Yakima West Valley. A couple of comments here in the chat. Sam says, sorry I'm late. Sam,
we gave you love, Sam.
we gave you your flowers in the last segment, so you'll have to go back and watch on replay. Okay, here's Jeb in the chat. South Fremont has to be the biggest head scratcher. They did not look good versus North Fremont, and then they scored 30-plus on West Side and won. Do you know the last time West Side gave up 30-plus points? It doesn't make sense. When I watched West Side, they didn't look like the West Side team of the past playing South Fremont, but then all of a sudden they show up and make a whole bunch of plays, and then there is that West Side team that we all know, and somehow South Fremont freaked it out after. And so basically, yeah, South Fremont's a team that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I always go with kind of what happened most recently. And so, hey, if you can go down and beat West Side, that's just going to increase your confidence and make you stronger and stronger. South Fremont gets another better than expected 3A team in West Jefferson this week, which will be interesting as well. But Ryan, let me go to, one more comment here. Sam says, do I need a tardy pass for being late? Yeah, we'll see you after class, Sam. You're going to be writing on the chalkboard like Bart Simpson. All right, Ryan, all joking aside, give me the 4A game you're most excited for.
Gosh, there's some good ones this week too. I was looking through there. There's a bunch of undefeated teams floating around out there too in 4A. I'm going to go Kimberly Homedale. I just you look at that one, you talked about it right off the bat. That one for sure jumps off because that is a semifinal matchup in my opinion. You look at those two teams and what they've been able to do, not just with recency bias and the history and the success of those programs, but just what the result on the field. I know Kimberly's got a loss under their belt, but Homedale won, big in their first game. They beat Snake River. You kind of look at the common opponent. Kimberly beat them by a similar score. There's a lot of, talent on that field. Both teams bring in some pretty heralded players. There's some guys that can score. There's guys that can play. I think the biggest thing that's going to jump off is the level of defensive play in that game. I look at both those defenses. I think it's going to be a great ball game. And, it's at Homedale. I mean, there's a little bit of hometown cooking there, but you're on the turf with a quick team like Kimberly too. I mean, it's anybody's ball game. I think it's going to be probably a one-score game. It's going to be a dynamite ball game.
Yeah, we've talked about Kimberly a lot this year, and it's mostly been about around their offense, right? Because they've got all these weapons and gadgets, and eventually McCrae Bruning will be back at quarterback. But for now, Titus Osterman's doing a great job moving from wide receiver to QB. Joe Barrett's a matchup nightmare on the perimeter. Johnny Millenkamp at running back has been phenomenal. What we haven't
pretty
talked
good at guitar too.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the Rocky Mountain Rumble. I called him John Cougar Millenkamp a couple of times. I'm sure he loved that. He's probably like, who? But here's the thing with Kimberly is that a lot of these guys play defense too, and they're really good. Millenkamp and Osterman are studs at linebacker. Bruning, actually, with that big club on his arm, is a capable defender, can use that thing as a weapon out there. He's been playing in the secondary a little bit. So to me, the key is going to be, can Kimberly's defense get enough stops on Homedale? We know what Homedale likes to do. They like to run the ball. Javid Blewett has been a great running back this year. And then they like to take those deep shots in the passing game. They lull you to sleep with the run, and then Xavier Urang, it dials up a deep ball. That's their MO. Can Kimberly get enough stops on Homedale? Because Homedale also wants to make it a low possession game. And so every possession is going to be critical. That to me is the key. It's can the Kimberly defense get enough stops on Homedale's offense? And obviously Homedale will have a defensive game plan for Kimberly on offense. But to me, it really is the Kimberly D versus the Homedale O, because I think Kimberly's offense has proven no matter who's at quarterback, they're going to go out and get, 20 to 30 points at least. And so that to me is the key there. Wyatt, what's the 4A game you're most excited about?
Yeah, I think I'm going to jump on to that. I mean, I know it's an out-of-state opponent, but that Sugar Star Valley team, I have a coworker who has a kid that plays on Star Valley, and so he's always talking about him. So I feel like I've gotten to know him after the last couple of years. I mean, all they do is win. I mean, they've been the number one team in Wyoming, all of Wyoming, for multiple years now. And Sugar has played them a couple years now, and Star Valley got them last year at Sugar. And then, Sugar then lost that next game to Kimberly. And so that was kind of the first time they had lost 2 in a row in, who knows how long. But so I think Sugar is definitely going to be looking for redemption, going to Afton. Really not that far of a jaunt over. But I think, the Sugar kind of getting with a new group of guys, Star Valley just always consistently good. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think this will be the first game for some of those newer to varsity Sugar Salem kids that they'll really kind of the bolts will be flying. I think they always have good freshmen and JV games. This will be the first real test for some of those guys that were placed, I think, what did they say, 18 starters from the previous season. So a really big game. I think Sugar Salem probably gets them in that kind of revenge game, but really good matchup for both teams.
Yeah, here's Jeb in the chat. And by the way, Ryan had to step out for a second. He'll hop back on when he is back. Jeb in the chat. Star Valley is unreal good. Saw them in person. If Sugar wins that game, 4A teams are all playing for second. Okay, that's a good declarative statement there from Jeb. I like it. Obviously, if Sugar wins that, I know they're going to be in the mix anyways, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to declare week 4 that, yep, it's Sugar's deal. I think there's a lot of good teams that are still lined up.
I think Sugar, they have a pretty dynamic quarterback this year, which kind of changes a little bit of that team. Frank Fillmore, a track star, long jumper, sprinter, as a sophomore last year, got some reps as in varsity, played in the semifinal and championship games. So a pretty dynamic kid, which typically running that wing tee, so they spread it out a little bit more. He can kind of tuck and run. Definitely adds a different dynamic for those kids.
Yeah, basically got a cup of coffee at the varsity level last year. And this is a Sugar team that had to replace a lot. And so I talked to Coach Richens preseason up there in Sugar, and he said, I'm actually kind of excited. This reminds me of the team that won it all in 2020 at Sugar, where it was a lot of new guys that were playing varsity for the first time. And, it was really fun to see that group come together and forge their own identity. And it's kind of a similar group this year. Okay, Jeb says, yup, declare it. Star Valley should be playing Hillcrest and Skyline, which they could beat. So, okay. All right, Jeb. I like your confidence. I do. Yvonne,
it's hard to argue with them when they're winning that many games, right? I mean, when they're like this next comment, 4-peat champions, I mean, potentially.
Yeah, Yvonne Cortez on X, aren't they on the path to be a 4-peat? Yes, and they have won 5 of the last 6 championships in 4A football as well. Looks like Ryan is back. Are you ready to be back on camera, sir?
I am. Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. The game I'm going to highlight, guys, is a battle of winless teams, actually. And it is this game right here. Snake River hosting Bear Lake. 2 teams from District 5 that are a combined 0-5. Bear Lake is 0-2. Snake River is 0-3. They have both played challenging schedules in different ways. Bear Lake is, remember, they were a 3A school for a long time, moved up to 4A for the first time last year. They're one of the smallest 4A schools in the classification. They are 0-2. They have played 2 really good 3A teams from their old stomping grounds. They lost to North Fremont 21-7. They lost to Firth last week by 30-28. 2 games that Bear Lake feels like we probably could have won. Certainly the game last week. I mean, came down to a handful of plays. So they're close. Snake River, on the other hand, is 0-3, and they have played all 4A teams, and they have played 3 of the 4 teams that were in the semifinals last year. Homedale, a 31-6 loss, Sugar, a 37-7 loss, and Kimberly, a 28-7 loss. And so, you know, there's something to be said for playing 3 semifinal teams from a year ago, but they have scored 7 points in every single one of those games, 7 or less. And at some point, okay, you have to actually show me something. You can, you know, it's okay to be 0-3 with 3 losses to those teams, but I haven't seen that improvement yet, at least in the point differential. I haven't seen that. Yeah, they've been, you know, respectable. But my question is, okay, what else can Snake do to take that next step? They've already played the upper echelon of teams in the classification. So I'm really interested to see how Snake River does against a team that wasn't in the state semis last year. And I'm really excited to see a young Bear Lake team and how they continue to progress as well. So that's the game I'm keeping an eye on there. Snake River and Bear Lake should be a lot of fun for sure. First conference game over there in District 5. And of course, the game I'm broadcasting Friday night, Timberlake hosting McCall Donnelly as well. I'm really excited to see the Vandals. They're 1-1. New coach David Joyce. Really good players. Colt Value, Joker Joyce, Gunnar Newman. I almost said Gunnar Helm, but that's a guy in the NFL, Gunnar Newman. So I'm excited for that game as well, but should be a really fun slate of 4A games. And guess what, guys? A lot of these games are going to be on the 2A or the 3A schedule as well. You can already see like the top couple are all the same. So when we come back, we will talk about what 3A games are left as Gem State Game Day rolls on right after this on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way, all the way. Go. All the way down, all the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com, live every Tuesday night on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Of course, you can watch on replay anytime at those destinations as well. If you're hanging out live tonight and you know somebody that's going to try and watch this on repeat sometime in the next couple of days, if you could like, share, and follow, that will help everybody else find the Gem State Game Day episode a little easier amongst all the social media doom scrolling that goes on throughout the week. So it really does help out if you could smash that like button, subscribe, and share it. That helps out tremendously. Okay, one residual comment from our 4A discussion about Snake River and Bear Lake from Jeb. Snake has run out of gas the last 3 weeks. Bear Lake can throw the ball well, and that's where Snake River struggles. If Snake River just pounds the ball, they should win the game. Bear Lake needs to get a few big plays and will be in it down the stretch. Bear Lake is better on offense than they get credit for. I couldn't have said it any better. You know, next time I'll just turn it over to Jeb. Hey, Jeb, here's the game I'm thinking of. Give me some analysis for sure. But Jeb is really the MVP of the commenters on Gem State Game Day. If you are watching and you want to join the conversation, we will put it up on the screen. Throw your comment in the chat. We'll throw it up on the screen. That's just what we do it for, you, the fans. So, okay, let's take a look. We're back at the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Let's go to the standings, conference standings, football, and we will go to Class 3A, where in the Central Idaho League, Priest River and Kellogg are each 1-0. Grangeville and Orofino both 0-1. Ryan, you were at that Grangeville Priest River game last week where the Spartans officially took the CIL favored status from Grangeville, snatched it right out of their hands. Nobody
bludgeoned it out of their hands, but yes, go ahead.
Yes, certainly. Nuclear Conference over in District 6. How about North Fremont, Ryrie, and West Jefferson? West J off to a 2-0 start. Those teams are a combined 8-0 this season. Firth, not where we're used to seeing them at 1-2, but they played 2, really tough teams and lost. That season opener to New Plymouth, still a bit of a head scratcher for me, but Salmon as well off the schneid, 1-2. They beat Orofino 6-0 last week. Had to go all the way to Orofino to get that win, which is not a short trip by any stretch. Southeast Idaho Conference, Declo. We left them for dead after they lost to Teton in week 1. Out of sight, out of mind. Declo says, that's cool. We're going to go ahead and beat Aberdeen. You see Aberdeen down here at 0-1 in the conference. Declo's 1-0, and the opening salvo delivered by Declo in a 1-score win. Everybody else still 0-0. And then in the Western Idaho Conference, still not sure how this is going to shake out. I still like Nampa Christian. They're 1-1. Their only loss was to Declo in a close game 2 weeks ago. Marcine's 1-1. Parma is 1-1. How about a round of applause for Parma off the schneid? A significant losing streak snapped. They beat Nissa, Oregon last week, the Bulldogs. And so congratulations to Parma getting off the schneid there. Jeb says Teton is better than we thought. Yes, and this is why you can't overreact in week 1. Declo still a very good team as well. So that's what's going on with the standings. Let's go to the Friday Night Flash. Again, homepage, IdahoSports.com, Friday Night Flash. It's right there at the top for you on Friday night. It'll be the Friday Night Flash. It's our live, in real-time updated scoreboard. We update the scores as we get them in real time on Friday night. And so this is your place to be Friday night if you're wondering, what are the other scores going on around the state? Here are the 3A games on tap this weekend, guys. We have American Falls and Malad. Buell is going to take on Declo. Coal Valley Christian and Nampa Christian. Firth and Soda Springs. Marsh Valley Westside, Melba Weezer, New Plymouth, Grangeville, North Fremont, Teton, Parma and Filer, St. Mary's and Kellogg. Ryrie taking on Marcine. Priest River going to go, they're going to host Newport from just across the border in Washington, and then West Jefferson and South Fremont. Those are the games we are looking at there. Ryan, give me the game you are most excited for here.
You're making me pick first all night, but as much as I want to pick that Coal Valley Nampa Christian game, I think that there's a lot at stake in that bottom right corner. That St. Mary's Kellogg game. What are we going to know about the two teams? We saw Grangeville get dismantled by Priest River on Friday last week. Who's going to aim and gun for that second spot in the CIL? It's Kellogg. I talked a lot about them going into the season. I thought that they were going to be a real nice surprise. They're 1-0 so far, but obviously losing their top line wide receiver is a huge loss for that team. But I will give, credit where it's due. Drayden Taylor stepped in for Kellogg and done a really nice job. But the players we're not talking about too much is how well Jack Barta's been doing for St. Mary's at quarterback for Lumberjacks. And you look at some of the other guys around him too. Brock Barta at wide receivers, one of the top 10 receivers in the state of Idaho as far as yardage early on. And then look at running back too. They've got athletes. I mean, Aiden Yearout's having himself a whale of a season so far as well, and played really well against Bonners Ferry last week against a really stingy Badger defense. So, Kellogg reeling a little bit with the loss of one of their best players, but still 1-0 coming into a game. This is a long-time rival. I mean, you look at these two teams; they've been playing since Grover Cleveland was president or something like that. But these two teams, there's no love lost between the two programs. And Coach Humphrey, got the Lumberjacks off to a nice start. I mean, 2-1 to start the year. I know they haven't played the strongest of schedules, playing a JV team to open things up, and then Salmon, but they held their own with Bonners Ferry. I was pretty impressed with their effort last week. So, St. Mary's, if they can get this big win, kind of get a monkey off their back in league play, it sets them really nicely up. I mean, I think they match up really well against Grangeville in conference play too. So this is a Lumberjack team. Keep your eye on.
Yeah, Grangeville reeling a little bit after that loss to Priest River. Have to go to New Plymouth now to play the Pilgrims. This is a game where New Plymouth already has a win over Firth. They've since dropped 2. If New Plymouth gets another win here, maybe under first-year coach Brody Von Bretthorst, can start to build a little momentum for sure. Wyatt, what is the 3A game you're most excited for?
I'm going to kind of touch on one and then get to my one I want to talk about, but kind of touch on that North Fremont Teton game. I mean, We talked about Teton a little bit. I mean, North Fremont, they had that big win over South Fremont to start the season. That's a common opponent that Teton will have with them towards the end of the season. and I think it's kind of that top. I mean, North Fremont, the Declos, the West Sides. So I'm curious to see how Teton ranks in there with some of those, like with the Declo, if they also blow out North Fremont. I mean, it's just kind of an interesting deal. Maybe they're really a player. Maybe they're gonna play with Sugar Salem in that conference, and then make some noise and move up the rankings. That's just one I kind of want to note on. The other one though is that Buell Declo game. Buell Declo last year they played as well. Declo, I mean, obviously a really good team, but Buell was a good team, and they kind of throttled Buell a little bit. It was in Declo. I think it was 30-something to 0. It was a pretty heavy one-sided affair. And so I think Declo's probably just a little bit down from they were last year. And I think Buell has a couple really dynamic kids returning. Porter Higley as a tight end, DN, and the same quarterback as Azevedo is back. They have a pretty good connection. So I'm curious to see how that kind of goes, especially with it being on the other side of the Magic Valley and Buell. Buell's always kind of an interesting place to play. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's, really tight. Everything's really tight. I mean, you if you're in that first round of the first part of the stands, you are on the bench. I mean, you are in the game. So, I mean, it's always kind of an interesting spot to play, but I'm keeping my eye on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun one for sure. Buell is a team I think we've all undervalued a little bit coming into the season. But we'll see how that transpires. I did want to just note Firth is playing Soda Springs. We've talked a lot about Soda Springs this year and this new coach they had, Colby Fangman, who kind of had been all over Texas, Utah, Oklahoma. His son, is apparently getting some recruiting hype at quarterback. Xander Fangman, he's only a junior. Two games in, he's already resigned. So Soda Springs is, I don't know. It's hard sometimes when coaches come from out of state and you start looking at the resume and they've bounced around and they've been a lot of places. It's hard. So he resigned after 2 games, Soda Springs 0-2 to start the year. So it's going to be some of the assistant coaches that are going to be leading the way. Aaron Hobbs, Isaac Pacheco, Dylan Lighty, and Corey Harrison. It's going to be kind of by consensus. And so Soda Springs just cannot seem to catch a break. They have had a hard time. And, they were hopeful this guy Fangman maybe was going to be the difference, but I don't know. 2 games in, that's tough. So doesn't get any easier for this week. And then you get into conference play with West Side and Aberdeen and Declo and et cetera. Malad. I'm intrigued to see how Malad does against American Falls. Malad kind of got smacked around by Ryrie last week. Ryrie's playing Marcine, a rematch of their opening round playoff game last year. They played it twice last year, actually. And Ryrie got him in the playoffs. The game I'm most excited about, guys, is down here, West Jefferson and South Fremont. I want to see if South Fremont can keep it going. That's going to be an interesting one. And West J is kind of quietly 2-0. They've got a lot of good athletes. They don't have a ton of depth, but they run this kind of wing tee, and they run it pretty well. And so I'm intrigued to see, can West J keep it going? How does South Fremont look? That's the 3A game I'm kind of looking at. Jeb in the chat says North Fremont versus Teton will help us all figure out these two. Buell Declo, exact same situation. We will get great info on these teams after this week. He likes North Fremont and Declo. Okay. I think I would lean, I don't know. That's tough. North Fremont's 3-0 against 3 4A schools, right? Marsh Valley, Bear Lake, and
South.
Yeah, South Fremont. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I think North Fremont.
Standpoint tough. I mean, yeah.
We'll see. That's a hard one for me to gauge. It wouldn't surprise me if either team won, but eventually, guys, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is, because it is time for us to tell you about the Gridiron Game Picks at IdahoSports.com, where, again, this is right on the homepage, IdahoSports.com at the top, Gridiron Game Picks. These are our weekly contests we run where you, the fans, compete against us, the experts. Everybody makes their picks for every single football game in the state of Idaho, and whoever gets the most picks correct for the week wins $25, and whoever has the most picks correct throughout the season wins $100. So, no small potatoes that we're all playing for here. If we look at the season standings, well, Skaggs, we are among royalty. Skaggs is the clubhouse leader for the season. I'll make this a little bigger so everybody can see it. Skaggs, you have made 133 correct picks this year. That puts you 5 ahead of second place, Max Oswald from the Bonner County Daily Bee. Must be something about North Idaho. Sean Kane, right, another great broadcaster, is third. I'm currently 10th. I'm coming for you.
What was Sean again? I think if he's listening, what was Sean again?
Third. He's the bronze.
Third. Okay.
Sean is 7 games behind you. I'm at number 10 right now. I am 12 games behind you. Paul, our boss, that's kind of the Mendoza line. You don't want to be below Paul. He is 17th overall in the season standings. Wyatt, 24th.
Yeah.
Actually, he's technically tied for like 20.
There's a couple of us. So I'll just put myself 21st as well.
That's right.
There you go. Moving on up for sure.
No,
so
is it alphabetical? That's why. It's just Wyatt. I always came last.
It is. It's that W in Wyatt for sure. So these are the season standings. If we go to last week, week 3, this was the first week where Skaggs actually did not win. Skaggs won week 1 and 2. But last week we had a new and a non-broadcaster, Lance Steyer, won last week with 57 total correct picks out of 69. That's pretty good. So anyways, here's how you do it. You go to IdahoSports.com. At the top of the homepage, Gridiron Game Picks. We are on the, so you click Submit, Edit Picks. You sign in with your IdahoSports.com account. And if you don't have an account, you just click right here, log in, and you can get an account set up. And then you go to Weekly Contests, and there it is. The Gridiron Game Picks Week 4. You just click Select and Edit Picks. It shows you all of the games right here. And then you just click which team you think is going to win. For example, I like American Falls over Malad. There's my pick, American Falls. And you go through all of the games. And it's a lot of fun, actually. So that's how you do it. You can compete against us, the experts, at IdahoSports.com. Again, that is the Gridiron Game Picks. It's right on the homepage at IdahoSports.com, right there at the top. One last thing to show you before we go. Friday night, and you want to watch some live football at no cost to you, you click the Game Streams tab right here at IdahoSports.com. Here's what we've got this Friday night, guys. We've got 5 really good games on tap. Actually, 6. 2 8-man games, Logos and Kamei, and Oakley and Rat River. But in terms of the 11-man matchups, Century and Idaho Falls, Kuna and Middleton, McCall, Donnelly and Timberlake, and Skyline and Madison. Those are all games we highlighted as we were breaking them all down. So, Wyatt, of the games we're broadcasting on IdahoSports.com, give me the one you're most excited for.
Yeah, I like that McCall Timberlake game. Partly I just want to listen to a really good broadcaster. Just hear a good soothing voice as I watch a football game. No, but I think again, McCall, looked really good week 1. Had a little bit of a stumbling block against Nampa Christian. I'm curious to see how that goes. That's a 4A matchup. It should be really entertaining. I think it goes a long way. McCall, they're in a really tough conference, so kind of got to stack wins early in these non-conference games, so that way when you get into conference and you're going against the Fruitlands and the Homedales, that maybe if you don't get those, you have wins built up other spots. Yeah.
Somebody else was supposed to be broadcasting that McCall Timberlake game, but then somebody got fancy Seattle Mariner tickets and is going to the Mariner game instead, Skaggs.
Sorry.
Skaggs, your Kuna Middleton game right here. Friday night.
Yeah, it is there, but that's probably not the game I'm most excited for. But this isn't an 8-man prepcast or podcast, so I'll stick with the Kuna Middleton game. But that Logos Kamei game is going to be chef's kiss. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Well, again, IdahoSports.com is the place to be Friday night. Your two best friends on Friday night are going to be the Game Streams tab and the Friday Night Flash, and then the Gridiron Game Picks. That's why we put them all right there at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. And I personally showed you how to navigate our website and find all of these things. So no excuses. All right. Thank you for everybody for tuning in to another edition of Gem State Game Day. Wyatt, thank you for hopping on last minute after an unnamed IdahoSports.com personality dropped out earlier this afternoon.
Hey, just gotta keep the Magic Valley in the news and make sure the guys out here get recognized.
No doubt. Ryan, thank you for scheduling us around dad time as well.
Oh yeah, of course. No, happy to be on again and looking forward to jumping on in a couple of weeks too.
Yep, it's going to be a lot of fun. We do this every Tuesday night, usually 8:00 Mountain, 7:00 Pacific. That is the time we shoot for each and every week, but we go for 1 hour talking all the great 11-man football in Idaho. For Wyatt Hellman, Ryan Skaggs, and Jeb and Sam and everybody in the chat tonight, thanks for tuning in. One last request before you go. If you could share, and subscribe. It makes it a little easier to find on replay for everybody else that wants to come back and watch it on replay. So until next week, enjoy the games this weekend, everybody. Drive safe, and we will see you back here next week for the Week 5 edition of Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.